Hey YouTube, this is our first little time-lapse video of a project we did here. It's a little backyard kind of makeover, mainly a fence job. Here the guys are digging out the septic tank and putting a riser on it. And we're getting all the old grass taken out and the old fence down. Just going to be a simple little decorative rock and a few boulders. There's about 250 feet of fence we had to take out here. We're going to be doing a horizontal redwood fence right here. The guys are taking these posts out by hand. I'm not sure why. We had the excavator there on site. There was some electricity on the other property and a couple other things in the way, so maybe that's why they didn't have the excavator out there, but you'll see here pretty soon. They end up bringing the excavator over and working some of these posts out. But I thought it was funny just watching dig these out by hand. It's tough work getting those out by hand. We really tried to get as much concrete out of the ground as we could for when we redug the holes to put the new fence in. That concrete's not in our way, but here you see they decided to bring the excavator over, so they must have made room for it. So much easier pulling posts out with an excavator, as long as they're not rotten. If they're rotten, they just break, and then you're stuck making a big hole getting all that concrete out of there. This backyard used to have a real nice lawn that we actually installed 4 or 5 years ago. But with the water rationing happening around here, they just let it die, so we just decided to dig down and cap the main line coming to this irrigation box. That way if any pipes get hit later, it's not a big deal. See the owner in the background there. The guys were really impressed. He was out working with us all the time. He's a great friend of mine. We decided to move some of this decorative river rock that was in the back and put it out in the front with the rest of it, because we were going to be using a different kind of rock in the back. We used a 3/4 crushed granite in the back, and we thought it'd look nicer to have all the same rock in the back and keep the different rock in the front. So guys are just getting that raked out. We always use a weed fabric when we install decorative rock. The main purpose for it is to keep the rock from migrating down into the soil. It really doesn't do very great at suppressing weeds. When we do big areas like this with just bark, we'll put some of the weed fabric down too, just because it does help a little bit. But for big plant areas, if we're going to be planting, we recommend not using the weed fabric and just use 4 to 6 inches of some kind of bark. The bark keeps the sun off of the seeds in the soil, and the bark does a better job at weed suppression than weed fabric alone does. A lot of times you'll see companies or just homeowners laying weed fabric down thinking it's gonna help, and then they only put about 1 inch of bark on it, and then you see weeds coming down through. So it's a big debate in the landscape world about whether you should use weed fabric or not, but in my experience, weed fabric's kind of a waste of money and a waste of time. It's better just to use more bark. But in areas like this where we're not doing any plants, it's just bark and rock, we always put weed fabric down. So now the guys are getting started on this fence. We rented a hole logger, and man, this whole yard, there's weed, there's tree roots, everything. The guys told me anything they could hit, they hit with that auger, and it was just a bear to get all these holes done. But the guys busted it out pretty quick. They said about 275 feet of posts in about 2 days. So like I said earlier, this is a kind of a horizontal redwood fence. We space the posts out 6 feet on center so that we can just buy 6-foot flat top redwood fence boards, and then we just nail them with use a nail gun with flooring nails. They're ribbed, so they don't work their way out, and it's a lot faster. It cuts down on labor as opposed to using screws. And then we always cover the seams where the boards meet. On this side where the boards are being nailed to, we will cover all those seams with another fence board. So you'll see all the vertical fence boards, and then you'll see one, or you'll see all the horizontal fence boards, and then you'll see one vertical fence board to cover up that seam. And then on the back side, we actually wrap the 4x4 pressure treated posts. We wrap that with some of the redwood. So on both sides, all you see is redwood. And both sides have their own look. And I actually prefer the look on the other side here, where you see the 4x4s wrapped in redwood. It looks really good. So it's just a preference. It's a great neighbor fence. You can see here, this is 2 backyards, and so this video is in the neighbor's yard right now, and he really loved it. So you can see where we put that septic tank lid, where they're dropping the rock right now. You saw that video earlier. This is 3/4 crushed granite, Sonoma gold color gravel that we're using, and then the bark is a small fir bark. It's what we have local here. It's one of the kind of higher quality barks that we use around here. It looks really nice, and it lasts quite a while. Justin cutting the tops off of all the posts. We have a big 6 and 8 foot level that we use to make sure the tops of our fence are level all the way down. At the end of the video, we'll have a couple pictures that really kind of shows how straight this fence is. The guys did a great job. You can see it's real easy for one guy to put these boards up. This is Gino wrapping the 4x4s like I was talking about earlier. He's just putting the 2 on the side. We rip those 2 down, and they go on either side of the post, and then we come back with a full piece and cover the front of the 4x4 there. It just gives it a real finished look. It's just an extra little thing that we do to kind of set our fences apart from somebody else's. Like I said, this is our first video. I'd like to have a little more content here of the whole process, setting the boulders and things, but this is guys' first time. So here's some final pictures. If you guys enjoyed this video, let me know what you think and if you'd like to see any more.